What's going on? Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Matt. Hi, Don. Hope everything's going well for you guys. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the Gateway to Reason conference coming up here in St. Louis, July 31st through August 2nd. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about who the speakers are, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got a great lineup, and you can find out more if you miss a name or two. But basically, we'll be starting with speakers like Phil Ferguson, P.Z. Myers, Dan Barker, J.T. Eberhardt, Amanda Brown, Kenny Kinzilla-Nip, he's a comedian, of course you, Aaron Raw, Rebecca Vitzman, Mr. Wizard, David Fitzgerald, Sam Singleton, Teresa McBain, Teresa Harris, Vicki Garrison, Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, Nathan Phelps, Hemant Mehta, and Fazul Saeed Al-Mukhtar.
That's a lot of people. Wow.
That's a pretty good deal. That's over 3 days, so you get time to listen to them, ask some questions, and find out a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, so it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starting like Friday afternoon and ending Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, and we do have some special events going on, and if you are interested in learning more, there's all kinds of information on the website. It's just been a real exciting thing talking to people and hearing responses, and just a real fantastic event coming up. And I'm sure your audience there in the studio and who listen and watch you will be excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I know, and I have a lot of friends and family around the St. Louis area. I mean, we were just there, like I was saying, for the holidays. One of the nice things is that you have an event in kind of a centralized location. From that, you can get people from all over. When we're, American Atheists is going to be doing their convention in Memphis, and so they're hoping to draw in, like Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Kentucky, come in for that type of thing, and we can do the same thing in the St. Louis area in July.
Yeah, I even had somebody sign up who's in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the word's getting out.
I wouldn't think this would be the optimal location for UK residents to come to, but
well, actually,
by all means.
He's going to be in the area anyway, but he is from the UK.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear.
Whatever works.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for the invite and for telling people about it, and we'll get back to you as we get closer to the event.
Oh, all right, great. You guys have a good show and get some good calls.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, you just Google Gateway to Reason, and Gateway being the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, so you'll find it nice and easy.
Great.
But Don is here.
Yeah.
And there's these.
I'm failing again.
Failures of Christianity. This series.
So this is show number 28. 28 of done a long series on Christianity's failures, and it hopefully begs the question, if you've got this great all-powerful God, why are you failing so often? And today I wanted to talk about you worship what? Talk about worshiping God. So I was on a plane on Thanksgiving with a theist, and I was reading my atheist magazines, and he struck up a conversation, and it was the usual apologetics thing of, he said, oh, well, I was an atheist once, and he said, oh, religions are all evil, and but later you find out he's a religious nut, and later he said, I read the Bible from beginning to end and couldn't find anything wrong. It's a lot of jaw-dropping stuff here. Right? Anyway, I'm sure you've had some similar conversations. So
it's a perfect book?
It's a perfect book, right. So my problem in these situations is I'm often maybe not thinking on my feet. I'm not girded for battle, and I'm also not wanting to be too impolite in casual conversation. So we had a pleasant conversation. But near the end of the conversation, he was shocked to learn that I didn't worship anything. He just couldn't compute that, as if all humans have that sort of need to worship something. And that really stuck with me, and I thought I'd make it a topic of the show today. So the definition of worship is the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. Now, I can't figure out why someone would think an atheist would somehow need to worship a deity. So I just don't get the disconnect there. Atheists kind of have this, I agree with Margaret Sanger's motto, no gods, no masters. So I don't have any need for any of that. And I don't know of anyone who's really worthy of worship. I know a lot of folks who I admire and adore, like a lot, and admiration, sure. And I feel reverence and adoration for nature or reality, but I don't feel that worshiping it will improve it or me in any way. So I don't really see the point of worship. So today's question is the Christian God worthy of worship? And the answer is I don't think so. So there's a whole bunch of claims about God that would maybe make him worthy of worship. There's a claim of creation. I can hear theists say, but God created the universe. Well, really? I know that there's that claim, but the more we know about cosmology, the less likely that seems. Our physics can explain nearly everything all the way back to the Big Bang. We have a big question mark at the Big Bang, but we don't have any evidence that there's God involved there. And it's kind of this notion of a God of a gap. So the more we learn, the less likely, or the less that God gets to do, and the less likely there is a need for God or as time goes on. And also, he's the author of the Bible, supposedly, but he doesn't seem to know much about the universe. It's a rather kind of primitive book in so many different ways. I've talked about science and medicine and these sorts of things, and it's just kind of amateurish.
That idea, though, of God created everything, and therefore you should worship him. It reminds me of the kind of, I brought you into this world, I can take you out kind of thing. Right. Of, you're going to respect me because I managed to have sex, and produce a child. The mere fact that somebody created something doesn't mean that creation then necessarily owes them anything, let alone worship. I mean, I didn't ask to be created. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask my parents to produce a child. I'm happy that they did. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
But there's one context in which we feel beholden to people. Like, I'm very grateful to my parents for having sex at least once.
Sure, and I can understand this idea of an ancestor worship, right? That you are from a long line of descendants, and that makes kind of some amount of sense to me. Right?
But the worship thing is, I'm glad we're actually talking about this. I know you've got a bunch of other points. The worship thing is kind of strange, because quite frankly, I would think that the people who would perhaps be most deserving of worship would never ask or demand it.
There you go.
I mean, to me, that automatically disqualifies you. If you're asking or demanding, expecting people to worship you, I think that
right, and there's this idea that you're going to go to heaven and spend all day, praising God.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, how insecure is that?
Not only would that be terrible for us, but what kind of nut job intentionally creates people just so they'll sit around and, ooh, you're awesome. Oh my God, I just want to blow you right now.
Right. So crazy stuff. So on the creation thing, there's also the claim that God created all life and all, including humans. And again, the evidence doesn't support that. We know that, given what we know, the only possible role, and we do have gaps in our knowledge, that God could have played is maybe stirring the primordial soup in metaphoric sense, or steering evolution. Somehow a lot of theists think that God steered evolution, and we'd have to do so through killing certain creatures so that they didn't reproduce, or manipulating their reproduction. And this makes me wonder if maybe the Catholic Church didn't create God in their own image.
It's a horribly inefficient way. Yeah,
yeah, it's very inefficient.
I'm all powerful, and I really want to create some people who will eventually just sit around and worship me. And so I think I'll start by making, stars and planets and stuff like that. And then we'll create a whole bunch of species that I will annihilate and allow to go extinct, and I will steer these others in such a way that they eventually produce the beings that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And as for creating humans, your own belly button proves you weren't created. You were born. And isn't that just stealing credit from your mother? And she deserves more credit than that. So there's the claim that God is the author of morality. Yet this claim is the most common interaction with God in the Bible with humans is killing them. So how good is that? And genocide is good apparently, like the flood, or it's godly. Worshipping idols is worthy of death. God lies, promotes slavery, denigrates women, encourages persecution, makes bets with the devil, punishes innocents for crimes of the guilty, and foments the killing of witches, Amalekites, Canaanites, etc. And he does all this in the Bible, and it's like all of this is horrible. It's horrible stuff. It's very clear to me.
They had it coming.
They had it coming, right. And this doctrine of the original sin is nothing more than blaming humanity for the mistakes of an incompetent God, as far as I'm concerned. So godly immorality is an abomination. There's a claim that God is just and righteous, but a just system would reward virtue and punish harm, but instead God punishes those who don't believe, however noble. Think of Mahatma Gandhi or somebody like that. Mother Teresa, who was really a sadist, I have to say, she's supposedly in heaven. So what about Torquemada and Pope Innocent VIII and Hitler and all these other folks that were, believers that are supposed to be in heaven now that were really sort of awful people. So I don't buy this just and righteous claim. There's the claim that God is love. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but shall have an eternal life. Well, got news for you guys. Killing your child is not an act of love.
Even if you only do it for a weekend.
Right, even if you only do. And who exactly made the rule that there had to be a blood sacrifice? Presumably, it's a monster more powerful than the Christian God, that God had to follow that advice. And supposedly Christ didn't die, as you pointed out, so what's the sacrifice? So, and what about unimplanted embryos, miscarriages in the stillborn, and infants who die before the age of gullibility, reason? They are punished for being human and not believing. So God's torturing them all? I don't know. I don't get it. So this whole idea is hopelessly twisted. So in conclusion, the whole idea of worshiping a Christian God is rather absurd. The Bible, albeit fictional, doesn't paint a pretty picture of the God. And why worship something for which there's no serious evidence that even exists? So what would we say about someone who worships monsters like Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson? Not just follows them, but worships them. Are they too ignorant to know, or are they lacking a moral compass? And the same can be said of worshiping a Christian God. And so this is yet another failure of Christianity.
And it's a big failure in the sense that I'm opposed to the very concept of worship anyway. Mm-hmm. I just don't truck with that.
Yep.
This idea of, I'm fine.
Common in that respect.
I'm fine with admiration. I'm fine with respect. I'm fine with reverence and awe and all these things. But worship carries with it this idea of this
giving up of your own identity, right?
Yeah, and this is the being that I wish to aspire to be like, but in such a sense that I'm acknowledging right off the bat that cannot be wrong. There can be no error there. And where I see errors, it is my own failing that prevents me from seeing the virtue behind what appears to be errors. And as I said earlier, I think that anybody being that expects or demands worship instantly disqualifies himself from deserving it. Right. Even if there was a God who created everything, who was also the architect of life and morality and all of these things, who actually sat around and talked with us and had good conversations and things like that, rather than playing the longest game of hide and go seek ever, he still wouldn't be worthy of worship, respect, admiration. And I've asked before, how do theists go about determining that God is the good one?
That's right. That's right.
And the general answer is, well, go back to Romans 1, and he's written his moral code on everyone's heart. Well, I don't think that's the case, but even if it was, then you're only judging God by God's own standards, and anybody will pass if you judge them by their own standards. Let me set up my own standards, and I'll be the new God, and I will pass with flying colors based on my own standards. Okay. And by the way, if there was a Satan, and he happened to have written his moral code in your heart and proclaimed himself to be God, how would you be able to tell the difference? Because he'd come out shining.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
So this written in your heart thing is clearly just a rationalization, I think.
I think so.